I'm Chris. I'm the creator of this channel, which is called Undoubting Creative Processes. I want to introduce you to the work of Daniel Pitín, which this video is about. So Daniel studied painting originally. He was interested in doing film practices as well, so that's what he started to do. But then eventually, after his first movie came out, somebody broke into his apartment and stole all the gear, and he went back to painting. And that ultimately turned out to be a rather fortunate thing, because through painting he got into an art residence that brought him to Vienna, and in Vienna he was found by a local gallery, Gallery Karim, that operates internationally, and they kind of kickstarted his career. So by now he's exhibited in lots of places. He had a solo show in LA and in Amsterdam this year, but he's also been exhibited in museums. I originally got to know his work because of a small catalogue that was published back when he first got to Vienna on occasion of that residency program. Those paintings intrigued me, and they kept being in the back of my head, and I kept wondering who was that guy who made these worlds where you had figuration in very unusual architectural settings with a very unique color palette and choices of color that were somehow somber, but the atmosphere wasn't dark at the same time. So at one point, when I was done with my own painting studies at the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, I started to work on a PhD thesis, and part of that was to interview contemporary painters, mostly painters from Vienna. And because of a solo exhibition that Daniel had in Vienna, we went for a coffee. So that turned out to be the first interview that we made, and we started to stay in touch. And the footage that you will see afterwards through our various meetings over the years, it's the first time that we actually sat down to record the meeting. Through this project now, Undoubting Creative Processes, I kind of had the opportunity to talk to him about the topics that were important to me. And as you will see in the interview, you won't hear me talking at all, you won't hear my questions, because that's not what the format is about. It's really about the movement of thoughts of the specific person in front of the camera. I think that's it. Enjoy.
I studied in Academy of Fine Arts in Prague, and I was focused on the classical painting, more or less. So I was educated in the classical process of painting. I wanted to build up painting as old masters. I wanted to know a little bit more about everything, about art in general. So I changed the studio, and I studied at the conceptual media studio, and I started to make my movies already at school. I made a short movie with one of my friends, like a movie, like was with actors and drama. But in the end, the movie was a little bit disaster. Like the reaction was really bad. Fortunately, also in the same time, the robber came into my apartment, and they steal me all my equipment. So it changed my decision and helped me to decide to go back to the painting. But I keep this influence by movies, because I was working with the movies, I was interested in movies. I wanted to bring something new into the painting that time, That time I started to do the series with the Hitchcock, and I found inspiration there. And I wanted to make a painting, of course, but I was a little bit tired to see just a figure sitting somewhere. I wanted to have something more dramatic, something more different, like from what the painter did that time. My paintings are from that time. They are still focused on something like a movie, but I have to describe it a little bit more, because it's not about the movie itself. I'm interested in these movie sets. I started to be more, after a while, I started to be more interested in how the film scene is constructed, and I was more interested what is on the other side of what we see in the movie. what is the construction of the movie set. Sometimes I'm more focused on space. Sometimes I am not interested in the movies, and recently, for example, I started to work with the live models. But what I'm trying to do, I'm always trying to find this borderline between illusion and the real, and the construction of the picture itself. Of course, the painting itself is the main topic, you know. So I solve painting when I paint, but this is the subject, and I solve it in. I don't solve. I work with this problem in painting, so I try to paint it. So in general, when I speak about the construction, so it means that there is kind of geometry. And if I speak about some movie or movie set, so it means there is some concrete space, or there is a space, or there is some motion, there is some figure partially taken from movie, from some in other context. And I try to find on the canvas the combination between geometry and the figure and some narratives, and also looking for this balance between narrative and abstract in the painting. I got a little bit tired of painting from photography, and I saw that it couldn't move me forward. So I decided to start working again with paper models, and I started to make my own scene from cardboard, and I use them now for my painting, because for me as a painter it's much better, because the light and colors are much alive. So it moved the process of painting also a little bit. So I did many objects, and I changed the models when I painted. I see it's not working, so I changed the object. I also paint into the object, then I paint it. So it's like a dialogue, and these things just help me to find something else. You know, that's what I like. I always like it when if there is a combination of geometry and narrative, and abstract and narrative. I like to use a wide palette of painting language. I mean, like many different ways, many brush strikes compared to the very narrative detail painting. And then just like some aquarelle painting and whatever I can do. On the other hand, it can be also a little bit dangerous. So of course, if your work is based just on the way how you do it, so after a while it can be very manieristic and very dangerous. And so that's why recently I also decided to settle down a little bit and started to make the paintings without having this, I don't know, like differences, or like a wild gestures. So just be focused on space and the shapes, and don't think so much about the painting, but itself, I mean. But on the other hand, after a while, when I saw my two last exhibitions, so I said to myself, okay, that was a good decision, because I need to do this change for my develop. But what's probably wrong, that I lost a little bit of the energy of the painting, you know, itself, like the power, because it's everything is just following the narratives. And so what I want to do now is to find a solution that I would like to keep these models, but I would like to somehow work also with the energy of the painting, like the dramatic brush strikes or something more active, to be more active as a painter, not just follow the model. So that's the way how I work, that I try to do something some while it's working well, and after a while I feel it needs to move some way, so I usually need to change something. So now it's this, and of course I spent a couple of weeks, months, maybe years to go through this change. It's not immediately, it has to be worked out. Like, I feel some energy sometimes. I feel energy that I want to do small painting, for example. I want to be more focused, or something very simple, and I want to simplify my mind and whatever. Sometimes I feel that I have a lot of physical energy, so I want to do a big canvas. It's like this, it's very basic, When I'm close to the exhibition, for example, I know that some work is done already, so then I start to think about what I did, But at the beginning, it can stop me to open some, because at the beginning I want to get into the area, I don't know where, I want to open a new gate, So if I start rationally, so I can, destroy this process of natural development, growing of something, that I don't know what is it. So it's like a dialogue, probably, like between me and canvas, between me models, between me and other and the viewers, of course. I don't live alone here. So yeah, hope is very important, and it's I think that sometimes I have that feeling that you start with the hope, you feel, but honestly, it's like you get into the situation that you cannot do anything similar what you did before. So you have to move. Anyway, it's like a life situation. You have to move out from your apartment. Even if you feel very well, even if it's luxury, even if people like it, you are not happy there, you have to go. It's my point of view. No, and you don't have to, some people stay. And so if you move, you don't know where you go, but you hope you go well, and you are trying to catch something, It's like you are like a detective, or it's in crime movie. At the beginning you are lost, you don't have any construction of the crime, but you build up this construction a little bit. But at the beginning it can be murder, and so it's like the beginning it's very hard. So but of course you have some experiences in with age, so and I do just like a small step. It looks like that I change it at all, but sometimes it's just my feeling, that I lost everything, and I have to build up everything again. Yeah, so in this time, the hope is very important. And then there is one day, if you get everything together, so it's a big joy, and it's I'm very, very happy in this moment. There are just a few, maybe few in a year. You know, it's like I suffer most of the time, but and it's hard process. But these moments of happiness, this is maybe that's the reason why I do it, probably. It's like that you are trying to put some different shapes together, and you don't know how you are trying to do it with the power. You are trying to be patient. You are trying to do everything. You don't sleep. You sleep. You eat. You don't eat. You do everything, and you wanna just put the shapes together. And it's not working, and one day it's locked, and you are a winner. And it's just for a while, and then of course you can profit it for a couple of times. You discovered something new. You can use this energy for a few years, or maybe, I don't know, it depends on the artist. But yeah, but this is the process. This is the inner. This is the process in my mind, you know. Maybe people who are coming into my studio, they don't see it. They see just the result of my work. I have to say that in this point of view, that also that the other important player in this game is the audience and all this system, you know. So if you are successful, and if people accept it well, if they buy it, if they collect your work, so it gives you also some kind of energy. And if it's weaker, of course, it can influence you as well. So if you are not Iron Man, and I'm not. But on the other hand, it has not to be the most important thing. It's important, but not the most important. I think the most important thing is this creative process, which is what makes painting quite interesting for me. It must be very, very hard for people who doubt and who don't have any acceptation also from the audience. So as many painters here during the communist time, you know, who couldn't show anything, whatever. So I really admire those people. They still did what they wanted to do, and no exhibitions, no reactions. They made just a couple of flat exhibition for friends. That was it, you know. And they made money from different, they teach and whatever. So, you know, it must be hard. I can't say that, you know, I don't have these experiences. My doubt is just my doubt, doubt. It's like, you know, like every artist has. Freedom, it's very relative to say, because I know a lot of people, you know, then you have to make money from some other job, so it takes your concentration and time, and I know, yeah, but back to hope, you know. I always had a strong hope it will change, and my way was keep going, and I love it, so I need to do it, you know. And I love this process of painting, so I just did it. But I didn't have any expectations so much. I wanted to make some success, but you know, I don't know if some friend told me that I should send some application for the stipendium in Vienna. And I was almost like miss it, and they told me, my wife told me, do it, you have to do it. So I was in a post office like 5 minutes after midnight, and I sent it. And then it's changed my life more or less in this way, for example, because I started to work with the Karim Gallery, and I get into the international context because of that, and that was very important for me. It's hard to say, you know. It's not in our hands, this. I think I can't influence this, you know. If you are successful, you can be even more successful always. So you are never happy. You are more and more hungry. So that's dangerous as well. And you cannot stop, because you have to be active. Maybe you have something like a name, so it's can be also a little bit dangerous. So it's not easy. As I said, this is something I can't influence, and I just hope it will be okay. And if not, I hope I will survive it as a painter, as an artist. I had a moment in my paintings that I felt that the painting is considered as something that it's very personal, right? But I had that feeling it's not true, you know. I got into the point that I felt that the painting is not just my work at all. There is a lot of things like cultural background, the people I grew up with, the environment, the light where I live. Sometimes I would say that painter is like it's very romantic, but it's like a flower that's growing from the ground and the condition of the country or the place where it's living, and the colors and what the flower is showing, it's the result of these conditions, probably. Of course, there is some miracle, something very personal, but yeah. So I feel it's not my personal thing, just personal things.